Okay, I'm Ogichidaa Francis Kavanaugh, Grand Chief of Grand Council Treaty Number 3. I'm from Notikomeguaning First Nation and territory of Treaty 3. I guess you hit it on the nail when you said epidemic, because it has reached those proportions. I've been a diabetic since 2002, so I've been diabetic for 16 years, but at the very outset, when I first was on metformin, I started to experience different kind of symptoms, So I started to do my own research on internet, like I'd Google metformin, are there any side effects to metformin, this and that, and what I found was that metformin depletes B12 vitamin, and I could correlate the symptoms with the lack of B12. So what I did was I asked my doctor, can you test me for B12 deficiency? And so they did, and yes, they found that I was very deficient in B12. So I started incorporating B12 pills in my daily regime when I take metformin. So, and on top of that, I try to eat a balanced meal. I don't overdo it with. It's not about not eating sugar or what. It's moderation. I still have that urge to have something sweet now and then, and I do that. But most of all, I balance it. I balance what I eat, and I also try to incorporate a little bit of walking around. We are a people that are paying the effects of a change in lifestyle, a change in how we eat and stuff like that. In the last 30 to 40 years, our people depended, on their livelihood was a pursuit. The lands and the waterways in our territory, we had our trappers, we had our hunters. We sort of abandoned the way we used to eat. I mean, a lot of us, I still eat wild game, I still eat fish and that, and wild rice and that, I still do that. But for the most part, it has impacted especially those that rely on social assistance, and we have a lot of those too because of the history, the historical pattern of how these newcomers have impacted the way we've lived, and so a lot of them depend on other food sources that aren't not good for their health. So that's one of the reasons why we have a high incidence of diabetes. So for me, that's why it's reached those epidemic proportions, is the lack of proper eating, the lack of, also in the context of improving the lifestyle of Anishinaabe. We now have, at the turn of a tap, we have water, where before, when I was growing up, it was a daily chore for us to go down the lake, chop a hole in the ice, and bring buckets of water, back and forth. And sometimes it took you an hour just to do that. So that was physical activity that was good for you and this and that. But nowadays everything is push button, touch this, or remote control, or just switch this and that. So we don't get out and to do those type of things anymore. So we're very limited or restricted to our activity levels. That's not the real reason, though. Sometimes I have that myself too, is the ambition to wanna do some physical activity, so I'm healthy enough to do what I need to do. I must say that, I've been fairly lucky that I'm fairly healthy at this point in time, given my advanced age too. So I think more education, not only from Western medicine practitioners and stuff like that, but maybe amongst ourselves too. I think we need to incorporate our elders as well, because when we have issues and we have problems in many different areas, but in this context we have health issues. So how do you mitigate those dilemmas, those epidemics? You take it to our governance tools. Our governance tools are shake tents, sweat lodges, Miteoin lodges, Sundance lodges, roundhouses. That's where you take these. You choose one of those forms of a ceremony, and you ask spirits, how do we mitigate the situation that we have? They will give you a prescription how you get over those things. That's why we're still here. We've survived, and that's why we survived, is we had that connection with Mother Earth, the Creator, and we don't have to rely on Western knowledge that's put on books and this and that. Our source comes from a higher source. It descended from the Creator. So that's why we're still here, and that's what I would implore our people to start considering, is a traditional angle on how they treat themselves.